As a longtime nerd and person of color, can I just say, we don't need a black Superman movie. I'm Antonio Ache, and this is Comrom. DC and Warner Brothers just can't seem to get their shit together. First, they tried to fast-track their way into a connected cinematic universe in a bid to keep up with Marvel, and even though they had Bruce Timm on the payroll, they couldn't figure out how to get the ball rolling like he had previously done in their animated universe. So instead, they decided to depend on Zack to create his Snyderverse and gave him full reign to make everyone involved as dark and gritty as he decided they should all be. Then, when he had to leave the Justice League project, they said, hey, Joss Whedon isn't tied up anymore, and he brought money to Marvel, so he's the obvious choice to finish this thing up. As long as we get this out quickly, there's no way we can lose money on it. Fast forward to a pandemic, an Amazonian dumpster fire, and finally the Snyder Cut is released. And all the while, DC is poorly battling accusations about Whedon's behavior and the company's mistreatment of many actors. Ray Fisher even went as far as to say that the WB was trying to divert attention away from their misdoings with the whole Black Superman project. And as much as I want to believe that this isn't the case, it does not look good for them. So as I said before, we don't need a Black Superman movie. From the news we've heard about this Superman flick, it's all the wrong things. It's not connected to anything else in the universe, it's possibly going to be a period piece, and originally it was just a reskin of Kal-El that made him black. Like, stop. My thought was, if you're not going to connect this to the other movies, then why not give us an alternate universe Superman like Val-Zod? You can make a random ass Joker, but we can't get Val-Zod? Thankfully, after that, they decided to do so. Although even that seems a little weird because there's talks of a Val-Zod miniseries and a color-swapped Clark Kent, so they still don't have a smart plan for their future. This is DC we're talking about. Another avenue that we've noticed, which appears to be a nice attempt but won't go well, is trying to make a series or movie based off of characters who don't have a catalog that's strong enough to carry these things by themselves. DC expressed interest in making shows centered around Painkiller from Black Lightning, the future state Wonder Woman Yara Flor, and Justice League newcomer Naomi. Painkiller and Yara's series were canceled before they were even shot, and as awesome as it would be to have a Black or Latina lady leading their superhero show, neither of those characters has been around long enough for their shows not to have a similar fate. Well-known heroes with decades of comic tales to retell have proven that the CW structure will be the downfall of any hero. Usually, when they toss the colored folk a poorly planned bone like this, it fails and they chalk it up to the audience just not wanting that sort of content, and that simply isn't true. And Marvel's Black Panther and Shang-Chi are proof of that. The world is slowly coming to the realization that accurate representation is paramount, and that's great. My main gripe is that when people hear us say we want racial representation for these comic characters, they immediately think we want them to switch ethnicities on existing characters, and that's wrong again. Rather than color swapping an old one, why not make new characters who reflect the rest of the world in more ways than one? Or actually use one of the many characters of color that have been decidedly sidelined for the longest. If you really want a Superman-esque story, give us a movie about Milestone's Icon. He's another OP alien who ages at a reduced rate, and he has years of material, but has only really been relegated to being a side character in things like Young Justice. And speaking of Young Justice, kudos for realizing that a movie about Jaime Reyes as Blue Beetle is a good idea. I originally wrote this script before Xolo Maridueña was chosen to headline that one, but I'm super excited for it. Jaime's been in comics for at least 15 years now, and he has to be a much better choice than characters like Naomi or Yara. And it's not because they're ladies, because I love a conspiracy-filled drama starring Renee Montoya as she goes from soon-to-be disgraced detective to the visually undetermined vigilante, The Question. But no, they just throw her in Batwoman randomly. Yay. See, there are options, but for the time being, I think DC really just needs to focus all their attention on making an actually good movie for fan favorites like Static and Beetle. Leave a comment below if you've seen Static or Beetle and any of the animated properties I listed earlier, or anything else, honestly. I've seen the pilot for Naomi, and I have to say I am less than impressed. And as much as I want to see it succeed, I'll be surprised if it gets past the second season. Not because the concept is bad, but the team behind it has to want something more than just teen drama with a nerdy comics flair. Sadly, that is a pitfall of the channel. They seem to be repeating this with the recently rumored Justice U, starring David Paul Ramsey. Naomi is currently proving that even having a talent like Ava DuVernay behind it doesn't make it good if the story is still told through a strong CW-style filter. Speaking of big names, I'm legit excited for the Static movie that Michael B. Jordan is producing because I feel like he will truly understand the assignment, and that's what Warner Brothers needs. Real fans making the movies that we need to see, as opposed to these silly money grabs that garner the worst reaction from the audience. One of the main reasons that Marvel has been so successful lately is because they have a huge nerd helming the decisions that they make, and they're thinking long term instead of these short-sighted, ill-advised ventures that DC's been providing us. I cannot stress enough how intensely I want DC to succeed. The way I see it, the more trash options they put out, the sooner all this wonderful nerdy stuff comes to an end, and I'm not ready for that yet. So if you agree with any of the points I just made, give this video a like. If you've seen Naomi and want to discuss that a bit, leave a comment below. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any future reviews or rants that we do, and pray with me to whatever deity you serve that DC gets their together, and fast. I've been Antonio Ache, and this has been Comrom, where we do nerdy reviews with the occasional boost.